Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the men's Final Four viewership. We're also going to be talking about CeeDee Lamb threatening a holdout on a new contract. We'll also be talking about Kentucky basketball coaching candidates, and make sure that you guys stick around for later in the show when we'll be diving into our Dumb Criminals segment. Before we start, though, I'd like to ask that you guys like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is gsmcpodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it just also really helps the show. So, you should do it.
Hello, Miss Faith.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm not a big. I like, you ever throw on a clothes and then you see it later and you're like, I don't know if I should have done this
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel about this shirt today.
That's how I
Not
feel
one of my
about
favorite shirts.
That's how I feel about my hair today.
Oh no, you got the kind of the Sade
Slick back.
look. Nah, you
Slip back
got
with
that.
bun.
You got that classic look today.
Thank
You're
you.
looking good.
Thank you. It
So
was so humid yesterday from all the rain that I woke up this morning and my hair was just like so I couldn't let it be natural today, so I had to do something with it, attempt to make it look okay. So
the coolest thing with you is I call it the many faces of faith. It really is. Each day I don't know what I'm gonna get
it's
because
something.
you have so many different looks, all good, but
Thank you.
they're all very different. Which
Hmm.
you don't see a lot of people that have. Traditionally, a person has like two looks.
Yeah.
They're
That's the joy
you
of being a
have
woman, though. Being a woman, you
you
can do
have
basically anything you want.
guys, what you see is what you get with us. It's
Yeah.
like
Most of the
you
time,
get
yeah.
one take look.
Hmm.
So, all right. So, what do we
Okay.
have going on today?
So, the men's Final Four viewership is up slightly, but both games trail behind the Iowa and UConn women's basketball games. So, the NCAA men's Final Four was a mixed bag in ratings, in in a first, both games were outdrawn by a women's national semifinal the prior night. Saturday's NCAA's men's basketball tournament national semifinals averaged a combined 6.0 rating and 12.84 million viewers across TBS, TNT, and True TV, down 2% in ratings but up 4% in viewership from last year on CBS. The game averaged a 21 share, tying 2001, 2015, and 2022 as the highest since 1998. The share, the percentage of homes or viewers watching an average minute out of the number using television, will tend to rise as television viewership declines. UConn, Alabama averaged a combined 6.7 and 14.18 million, up 5% ratings and 10% in viewership from UConn, Miami on CBS last year. Purdue, NC State led with a 5.3 and 11.45 million, down 12% and 4% respectively from San Diego State and FAU a year ago. TBS was the top draw for both semifinals with a 3.1 and 6.57 million for UConn, Alabama, and a 2.6 and 5.75 million for Purdue and NC State, but TNT ranked not far behind with a 3.0 and 6.39 million and 2.2 and 4.6 million respectively. A lot of numbers. The small gap between the TBS and TNT airings since the Turner Networks began airing the Final Four in 2014. As one would expect, True TV brought up the rear with a 0.6 and 1.16 million for UConn, Alabama, and a 0.47 and 1.06 million for Purdue, NC State. Neither national semifinal averaged as large as an audience as Iowa and UConn in the women's Final Four the previous night, marking the first time ever that any game of the women's Final Four has averaged more viewers than either of the men's games. Iowa's win averaged a 7.1 and a 14.42 million across ESPN and ESPN2. So,
All right. So when you
Lots
look at
lots of
this,
numbers.
yeah, lots of numbers, but impressive numbers.
Very impressive numbers, yes.
If you, at any point in time in my life, if you'd have told me that the women's Final Four would
Mm.
outdraw the men's Final Four, I would say you are out of your mind.
Definitely
There
not on
is
the 2024 bingo card this year.
no. Um, there's I would have said, if they gave you a whole list of things,
Mm-hmm.
and that was one of the things you had to put down, your life's on the line and you have to
Yeah.
pick one.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been one of mine. Like, oh no, no, like the only one I would have picked over that one is
Mm-hmm.
that the WNBA final would outdraw the NBA finals. I would, there's no way in the
Yeah.
world I would have ever
Mm-hmm.
thought remotely possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that the women's Final Four outdrew the men, the fact that the women's national championship game outdrew the men's national championship game is it's unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
And again, whether people think she deserves it or not, you cannot deny Caitlin Clark's power and
Yeah.
the value that she brings to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because man, did she put a lot of eyes on some TV sets.
Yeah.
I would love to see the breakdown of demographics as far as men and women,
Mm-hmm.
because one of the things I've always talked about is I would love to see more women support women's basketball a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the fact that this has been done, if it's been done once, it can be done again.
Right.
Um, I could see the gap being closed a little bit more with college
Mm-hmm.
basketball, because I think college basketball is going to make a comeback in general, strictly because of name, image, and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is players are going to be able to stay in college longer. So you're going to start being able to build the names like they used to do back in the 80s, the 70s and the 80s, early
Mm-hmm.
90s. It's hard to build on a one and done type athlete
Mm-hmm.
where, he comes to Kentucky, let's just say, goes through, has this meteoric rise, and then he's out to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's going to be players that's going to have a great year and then come back for their sophomore year, come back for their junior year. So I see both leagues going up and up. It's a slight increase, but the way the game has changed for the men, where the team with the more experienced players are going to, that creates more of a storyline. Looking at UConn being back-to-back champions, and people starting to know, okay, I can look out for UConn. It's not like, oh, this team is stripped and then we have to go and figure out who's the next big thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the women, I'm hoping Caitlin brings a set of eyes that were never on the women's March Madness bracket. And now maybe next year, even though she's not in it and Reese isn't in it, but it'll be more the team. Now everyone's been introduced to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina doesn't have a lot of mega stars. They're a team. And so people can look at South Carolina and say, okay, let's see what they do this year, and be more interested in the women's game, and maybe draw the game, and have more people realize that, hey, the women's game is actually pretty good and worth watching. Go ahead. What are you
Well,
gonna say, Faith?
South Carolina, Camila Cadarso, she's rising up in stardom, I feel. I've been seeing her name a lot around lately
Yes.
as well. So maybe she'll be the next big star to bring people in to watch women's basketball more.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. What you just said there is exactly what I'm talking about. People tuned in for Caitlin Clark, but learned about someone new.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? That's what I mean by they tuned in to see if Caitlin Clark can finish her story and win a national championship, not meaning it's still a little Cody Rhodes thing from WWE, but could she finish her story? Ended up being the biggest game in women's college basketball history. But now, are there going to be, there's new teams and stars that people will know about for next year, which then may make them want to tune in for next year. And this is how things tend to grow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so it's a good thing. Also, Caitlin going to the WNBA and looking at the viewership that has gone on for women's March Madness, hopefully a lot more of her games, WNBA games, will be on television so that more people will watch it and maybe realize like, hey, these girls or these ladies, they can hoop. And start realizing that it's a good thing. It's fun to watch women's basketball. It's fun. The men's basketball, that's strong. March Madness is an event for men's basketball. It's, to me, I feel like March Madness for the men is only going to get better as more and more players no longer have to rush to the NBA draft, or even for the women, they don't have to rush to go to the WNBA or go to Europe to play basketball. They can play basketball at their university and make just as much money as they would playing in the WNBA or maybe even in Europe. Which means that those players stick around longer. The longer they stick around, they build their name, they build their recognition, their brand goes up, ratings goes up. I think I kind of feel like this could be a watershed moment for women's basketball. I don't know if I'm going to say it for women's sports, but I think women's basketball took a giant leap forward this year. Do you agree with that? I mean, think about
No, yeah,
over the years, how
absolutely.
much have you thought about women's basketball?
Not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know how
and
many people told me that they had never watched a women's game until this year? Go ahead, what were you gonna say?
yeah, and even like there's like was never really a basketball fan, but after I watched the women's basketball game, I was like, I might actually like watching basketball if it's a women's basketball game. But they also just don't get a lot of publicity, and I think that's also part of the reason why like nobody really cares to tune into women's basketball, because it's not really reported on. And then the fact that Caitlin Clark blew up and got so big and was getting all these news articles and everything written about her, everybody was like, oh, well, I need to check out this Caitlin Clark gal, see if she's really as good as everybody's making her out to be. And then it just kind of blew up. And so I'm hoping moving forward that it will be the same as it was this year.
One of the things you said to me the Monday, it was Monday after when the game was played. You watched the entire game and how it was a great game. But you watched that game wire to wire, and wasn't that the very first women's basketball game you'd ever watched on television?
On television, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, my next question to you is, would you watch women's college basketball again next year?
Yeah.
Then it's a success. Because for if we have one faith, there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 faiths that's going to tune in next year the people, the diehards were always going to watch it. They
Mm-hmm.
watch it every year.
Mm-hmm.
But the people like you who didn't really watch it before, there's going to be a group of people that are going to now start watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And so do you see how that raises things up? And
Yeah.
if they can, I was hoping that Caitlin Clark would have stayed in for last year. I was really hoping that because I
Mm-hmm.
thought, think about next year. If she came back, I
True.
think that would have been, if let's say they make it back and they make it, let's say she came back, went to Iowa, and they're on fire next
Mm-hmm.
year, and South Carolina's on fire, and LSU is on fire, and they meet in the championship game again, that would have been blockbuster.
True, but think about what she's gonna do for the WNBA now. Now that she's
I
going into
hope
the
that's the
draft.
I hope that's the case.
I do as well.
Um, I hope we'll see where she lands. I hope she lands at like a, it's bad to say this, but a big market
Mm-hmm.
franchise. I don't follow the WNBA enough to know
Mm-hmm.
where people are at in the draft, and I didn't do the research to figure out where they're at. But an LA Sparks, a New York Liberty, one of the big market teams
Mm-hmm.
that could get her even more publicity would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. But people are excited
Mm-hmm.
about Caitlin Clark, and hopefully, going to the WNBA, there's some like incredible basketball players
Mm-hmm.
in the WNBA, and that may take her some time to adjust. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That adjustment time is when you could lose viewership.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm concerned about. I'm hoping that she can come in and dominate early because that helps everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take.
Well, quick question before we go on
Hmm.
break. Were you shocked by the fact that the men's Final Four viewership did not surpass the women's?
I was okay. Great question. I brought this up in the production meeting
Mm-hmm.
that I was expecting the women to outdraw the men,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I was very curious about that. The men actually drew more than I expected, honestly.
Mm.
I think they drew 14 million, right around that 14 million
Yeah,
mark.
I believe so.
Okay, and then the women drew right about 15. At the peak was 17, I thought.
Oh, actually, the men's semifinal averaged 12.84 million viewers. So it
Okay,
was less than
12.8,
fourteen.
and then I thought the finals was 14, something around that 12 to 14 million. But they didn't beat the women. Like I said, I would have bet everything I own that this would have never happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that makes it amazing. I'm hoping that this carries on because no, I did not. I wasn't originally. I wasn't expecting it, but then once the Caitlin Clark effect went on
Mm-hmm.
last week, I was expecting the result that we got, that the women were going to outdraw the men for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm.
So matter of fact, I was thinking that the men were going to be right around 10 million views. So the men were actually a lot higher. They were 12 to 14 million. So it's the men actually did better than I expected, and the
Mm-hmm.
women just blew the roof off of it.
Yeah.
So
All right, guys. Well, hopefully we'll see the same. Uh,
hopefully we'll be covering this again
yeah.
next year.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully we'll see the same viewership that we did this year for next year. Fingers crossed. But
I'll cross them.
we're
Because
going to take.
you told me to cross them, and I didn't cross them, so I
But with that, guys, we're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about how CeeDee Lamb is threatening a holdout for a new contract with the Dallas Cowboys. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about the men's Final Four viewership and how it is up slightly, but did not surpass the Iowa versus UConn women's basketball game. And now we're going to be talking about how CeeDee Lamb is threatening a holdout for a new contract. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is GSMCpodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it just also really helps the show. So,
All right.
all right.
You just gave it that nice pregnant pause. I'm like, nicely done. Okay.
I know I finally can do it now with like not looking at my notes. I know it almost word for word now.
Just let it. It just flows.
Just flows.
So we're talking about my favorite team today.
The Dallas Cowboys. Ooh, when do we
Yes, we
not
are.
talk about the Dallas Cowboys?
You cannot escape the Cowboys.
That is very
You
true.
know. So
Alrighty, so according to a report by the Dallas Morning News, star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is threatening a holdout for a new contract. Dallas Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb is entering the final year of his rookie contract and could hold out for a better deal. A first-round pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Oklahoma product quickly established himself as one of the most dangerous secondary options in the game. While playing behind Amari Cooper, the wide receiver recorded a combined 153 receptions for 2,037 yards and 11 touchdowns through his first 2 seasons. The Cowboys traded Amari Cooper following the 2021 season, leaving Lamb as the top option in the passing attacks. The third-year receiver was up for the task, eliminating any doubt about his ability to be one of the best receivers in the game. Last year, CeeDee Lamb won first-team All-Pro honors while recording 135 receptions for 1,749 yards and 12 touchdowns, and now the receiver could hold out for a deserved extension. According to Michael Gilkeen of the Dallas Morning News, CeeDee Lamb is expected to skip voluntary OTAs and could continue his holdout into mandatory mini camp. CeeDee Lamb could hold out, potentially miss minicamp. Nobody should blame CeeDee Lamb for his holdout, as the wide receiver is long overdue for a massive extension. Lamb was effectively the Cowboys' entire passing attack last year, as the wide receiver led the league in receptions while compensating for the depleted abilities of Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks. without him, Dallas couldn't stand a chance of winning a competitive NFC East. Chances are the CeeDee Lamb holdout will end with a new contract. Wide receivers have never been more important than in today's pass-heavy NFL, and Lamb is one of the best in the game. However, this is the Dallas Cowboys we're talking about, and you never know what Jerry Jones will do. As it is, the team needs to sign quarterback Dak Prescott and star edge rusher Micah Parsons, so there might not be enough money left over for Lamb. Some teams should be willing to give up multiple first-round picks for his services, and the Cowboys could entertain a few offers.
Okay. Now, when I hear this and I think about, okay, traditionally, if you're the Cowboys, the priority should be signing Dak and then Micah or CeeDee Lamb. They're both big time guys. But Dak is the one that is traditionally the big, the most important one. Your quarterback, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Right. And with the fact that you still have franchise tags and things of that nature that you could do with those guys. If you're the Cowboys, Dak is the top priority. But if I am CeeDee Lamb's agent, I don't step on the field. Absolutely not. I hold out.
Yeah.
The blueprint has been made. Ezekiel Elliott wrote the blueprint. And the blueprint is, hey, Dak is up for a contract. I'm coming off my best year yet. I'm going to hold out because the Cowboys' priority was sign Dak, then Zeke. Well, I'm here to say if they would have kept that approach and they signed Dak first and Zeke would have had that next year, which was a little bit less than the previous year, he'd have been on the downslide. Number one, he would have gotten a lot less money or he might have been traded away. And so because Zeke went to Cabo and held out, he got his contract before Dak did. And no one thinks that Zeke would have ever gotten that money if he would have waited. Well, CeeDee Lamb is a little bit worse. CeeDee Lamb is coming off of a year that very few wide receivers have ever had. Led the league in receptions, 1,700 yards. He's the focal point of the offense. Everything you want. You're coming off your best year ever. If you're his agent, you don't want to wait until Dak gets his money. You do not want to wait until Micah Parsons gets their money because you have three guys that want to be the highest paid player in their position. CeeDee Lamb wants to be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Is he deserving? Yes. Micah Parsons wants to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Is he deserving? Yes. Unfortunately, Dak Prescott, for what he has done, wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Some people would say, is he deserving? No. I would say, yes, he is deserving. I just wouldn't do it. So the blueprint is made if you having three guys that are in a place to get blockbuster contracts right now. One of these seats have to go. I feel like one of the three, I don't see how Dallas can sign all three of them. And so if CeeDee Lamb if I'm CeeDee Lamb's agent, I'm holding out. I'm holding out to get my contract to put me in front of the line. I'm cutting the line, and I'm not stepping foot on the field until I get my contract, because the alternative is just what this guy was saying later on. If they sign, Dak and they sign Micah, then looking around, you could see CeeDee Lamb being traded somewhere else for a bunch of picks because the Cowboys just don't have enough salary cap space. The Cowboys would love to sign all three of them, but there's a salary cap. And there's not enough salary cap. That Cowboys are in salary cap hell right now. So being able to kind of shift things around a little bit, that's the thing when you start looking at the Cowboys, you start thinking about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has the Cowboys held hostage. Like all three of these guys are coming off of record years. He had a great year. He's Dak Prescott at the end of his contract. He has a no trade clause, and you can't franchise tag him. So, and the salary cap hit is so big for Dak Prescott that the only chance the Cowboys have is to sign Dak for a long-term contract and spread it out over years, that salary cap hit, so that they can get Micah and maybe CeeDee Lamb. The crazy thing is, if Dak leaves, I don't know if Dallas has enough money, salary cap space wise, to sign both of them. I feel like they have to sign Dak in order to have a shot at signing both of these guys. Dak has set himself up into a place where, Dallas is over a barrel, and it's gonna be rough for them.
What is it with Dallas and having all these players that demand to be the most played player in their position? Like,
okay,
what's that about?
Okay, here's the thing. People don't realize this, but the Cowboys are, my opinion, the best drafters in the NFL. They don't go out and get free agents. They don't go out and get a lot of free agents. They draft their guys and turn them into stars. And so Dallas drafted CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb has turned into a star. Micah Parsons, they drafted him, struck gold with him, and he's a star. Dak Prescott, I think he's a third-round pick, fourth-round pick, struck gold with him, and he's a star. You're a star, one of the best players in the game, on the most high-profile team in the league, and they want their money. That's the difference. If they were poor at drafting, then it'd be a little easier on them. No one, you never hear about, a middle of pack wide receiver holding out or demanding top dollar.
Yeah.
Because you're middle of the pack. The fact is, the reason why Cowboys have been so good is because they've drafted so well. And because of that, they've had themselves in a bit of a bind. Just like Ezekiel Elliott, when he held out, Cowboys drafted him. He was turned out to be the best running back in the NFL. He held out, got the biggest contract in football for a running back in history. And then he slid from there, but these guys are getting paid. Also, football is different than all other sports. When you're a basketball player, you got years to play. If you're a baseball player, you got years to play. A football player, their career could end just like that. If you're CeeDee Lamb and you only have 1 year left on your contract, if you go out there and play and you get injured, one, your career could be over. Two, you could have an injury and that big giant contract is over. So football players have to strike while the iron is hot. And that means I got to get my money. I got to get my my huge contract. I got to get as much guaranteed money as humanly possible. I want to get as big a signing bonus as humanly possible, because a lot of times the future's not promised for them. The average NFL player, I think 2.5 years, 3 years is the average time a player is in the NFL, because most don't make it that long. If you come off of, there's guys, they get an injury and they're never the same again. Like you talk about Robert Griffin III, came out rookie of the year, ended up hurting his knee. He's out of the league. He's a young man wanting to play in the league, but he's gone. There's story after story of so many players that got injured and didn't make it. And that's the reason why a lot of players are like, you know what? I want to get mine now. Because waiting a year could be devastating to me. Waiting a year, instead of being the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, you could be trying to get on, hoping that someone picks you up for league minimum just by the wrong injury happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the danger. That's the dangerous thing about football. That's the reason why so many people fought for name, image, and likeness in college. Because imagine that kid who's playing college football and they get injured and their career is over before it ever gets started. Now name, image, and likeness helps them out there. But back to the Cowboys, if I'm the agent of CeeDee Lamb, I'm telling him to hold out. That's the tough thing about the situation. What's best for the Cowboys? What's best for the Cowboys is, no matter what, to sign Dak Prescott. I've openly talked about, like, I'm not signing Dak. I'd sign Dak for like a $50 million a year type contract, but I'm not signing him for 60, 65. But the truth be told, I don't think they have much choice. The salary cap hit is so massive this year and next year that it would cripple the Cowboys. The Cowboys would have to take major step back if they lose Dak Prescott. And so the top priority is Dak, and then maybe CeeDee. See, Micah's just, I'm signing Micah before I sign CeeDee Lamb. And that's the tough thing. Most teams don't have 3 superstars that they have to sign in the same year. It's normally, oh, this year we got to sign this guy, next year we'll sign this guy, and the year after that we got to sign this guy. Dallas just so happens, because they drafted these guys all right about the same time, and Dak's contract is coming up right about the same time. It's like, hey, we want to get paid. And that's actually a curse in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or are you just tired of the Cowboys?
No, I'm not tired of the Cowboys. It's just, I don't know. I always think it's funny when players who are already making a lot of money demand more money. I just think that's
now, see,
funny concept to me.
It is a weird concept, but it's an important concept. That's a great topic to talk about as well. If you're a football player, a lot of players love the whole story of Tom Brady taking a pay cut to play for New England. Brady, yes, he took a pay cut, but Brady always was one of the highest paid. He just didn't have to be the number 1 highest paid quarterback. He never took a massive cut. Situations happen. If you're a player, and let's say you're getting paid at this level, and there's another guy getting paid at this level as an owner, one's getting paid $1 million, other one's getting paid $30 million a year. Both of them are under contract. They're playing the same position. Which one do you want to see? Which one is the owner going to want to see play? The guy that's getting paid $30 million over the guy that's getting paid $1 million. even if the guy that's getting paid $1 million is slightly better, the guy that's getting $30 million is going to play. Fans, hey, we paid this guy $30 million or $20 million or $10 million, whatever that number is. We want to see him play. So you have a lot of times a player can't take a massive discount because, and as far as the investment in a team, the ownership is going to want to see the players that they're paying the big dollars to get out on the field and perform and get their money's worth. So it cuts so many ways when you're starting to think about this, that your contract determines some of your playing time, who's starting. I mean, there's been numerous situations where the backup was outperforming the starter. The starter was the one that had the big name and the big contract, and the general manager eventually traded away the backup because we've invested the money in the big name guy. And so that's a factor that people don't talk about very often in professional sports. But performance and value are the two things that are super important in who gets playing time. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a little more sense now.
It just sounds, I know,
Overall,
it sounds
I'm
crazy.
just like, dude, you're making like $35 million. Why are you complaining about it?
See, it's always easy to, because if you don't have it, it's hard for you to imagine, like, looking around and saying you're not going to play because you're getting like a bit, you're getting millions, but you want even more millions. For someone that doesn't have it, it's hard to grasp that concept.
Maybe I should start demanding.
You can make these type of demands.
Nothing less than $1 million, or I walk, Tate.
Wow. Boy, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to miss Faith. She was a wonderful addition to the show. You're worth every bit of it, though. That's the thing. On that one, we're going to move on.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a short little break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about Kentucky basketball's coaching candidates list. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about CeeDee Lamb threatening a holdout for a new contract with the Dallas Cowboys, and now we're going to be talking about Kentucky basketball coaching candidate list since John Calipari is leaving.
John Calipari.
Yeah, is leaving and is coaching for Arkansas.
All right, yes. Okay, and so first, Calipari's going to Arkansas, going from maybe the biggest name in college basketball to a mid-tier program. And we touched on that yesterday, and I was talking about the fact that in this new world of name, image, and likeness, I feel like both schools, like Calipari parting ways, benefited. Calipari gets a new fresh start at a program where Arkansas has no problem paying him and paying players to come play for Arkansas. Arkansas is very hungry for a title, basketball or football. Kentucky, it was time to move on from Calipari. And so it's a win-win situation, and it's rare to have a win-win situation when a coach and a school part ways. And I didn't go through this article that Faith had put together here, but before even starting right before break, I just wrote down what would be my top 3 choices for Kentucky. And I said, Dan Hurley from UConn.
Right.
I would throw multiple bags his way.
Yeah.
That would be my number 1 choice. Billy Donovan from the Bulls. I would have him on my list.
He's also on this list.
On there. And I'm going with the nostalgic pick. It's going to sound crazy to everyone, but Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino was...
He's also on this list.
Rick Pitino was a long-term coach at Kentucky. He brought championships there. He left Kentucky to go to the NBA, and NBA didn't work out. And Rick Pitino has always wanted to go back to Kentucky. This is one of those situations. I think he's at St. John's right now, where possibly would be a nice fit there. And I won't touch on too much because you got to touch on each one of these coaches. So with Pitino, though, the drawback is he's old. He's up there. He's advanced. Let's say Rick Pitino has to be 70. So we'll see. All right. So go ahead, fire away, and let's see what you have for me, babe.
Okie dokie. So, as we stated, John Calipari is expected to become the next head coach at Arkansas, and Kentucky needs a new men's basketball coach. As hastily as the last guy abandoned the post after his latest postseason failure, that's how fast prospect candidates will run towards Lexington. 5 different men have won national championships there. Kentucky jockeys with Kansas to be the winningest program of all time. There's no ceiling because there's no limit on winning a coach can do there. So going into the list a little bit, we'll touch on the 3 that you had mentioned, starting with Billy Donovan, who is the Chicago Bulls head coach. This is the dream candidate for Kentucky fans ever since about 2007. Donovan was a Kentucky assistant under Rick Pitino and didn't have the baggage of his former boss. But the question is, would he leave the NBA for the Fishbowl of Lexington? Does he have any interest in returning to college? It seems unlikely, but Barnhart has to at least make the call and make him say no. So
okay, okay, Billy Donovan. That's a tough one. If I was Billy Donovan and I was advising Billy Donovan, I would go back to Kentucky. I would leave the NBA and go back to Kentucky because there's very few jobs like the Kentucky job. He could go there, he'd be loved in Kentucky. He'd be successful in Kentucky, where as a Chicago Bulls coach, he has done okay. And I don't know how long he's gonna still be. You know, if he doesn't get the Bulls going in the right direction, eventually they're gonna change. You know, I think Kentucky's a better job right now than Billy Donovan and how long he's been with the Bulls. A fresh start. This is one of those fresh start situations. Going to a dream situation, I would have him go to Kentucky. So All right,
Okay.
what's my next one? Okay.
All right, so you also mentioned Rick Pitino, who is also on this list. He is the St. John's head coach. This would be unequivocally the most incredible result of an already incredible turn of events, but it is also a scenario that has to be considered, even if it is entirely unlikely. Pitino won more than 80% of his games in a legendary Kentucky tenure, including a 1996 national title, and is still perhaps the most loved and hated man in the state. Pitino would undoubtedly win if he returned to Lexington, but he's 71 and it's hard to seriously imagine this being a realistic option. That said, Pitino is still coaching and this job is open, and how amazing would this reunion be? Pitino pumped life back into dormant St. John's this past year and is an absolute force of nature in fundraising for both the program and in name, image, and likeness. Funding? Well, they put license funding, so I don't know if they meant to put likeness. He hasn't exactly slowed down despite his age and all the times his career nearly went awry. Does Kentucky entertain this thought?
I would go nuts over this one. He may be the greatest coach in Kentucky history. He was absolutely loved in Kentucky. Absolutely loved. He only left because he had a shot at being a coach in the NBA, went to the Celtics, failed, and then went back. And then he went to Louisville. He was hated for the fact that he went to Louisville, an in-state rival. And so that's why he's loved and hated, is because he could be arguably the greatest coach in Kentucky history. Or he's also, people feel like he betrayed them. He left. He should not have left and went to the Celtics. And then there's been a number of incidences where, players were having strippers in their room and things like that, and he got in trouble for that. I'm going to say this. I don't, the whole situation with that one, I give Rick Pitino a pass on that one, strictly because of the fact that people don't realize, but college players are grown men.
They're adults.
And yes, and a coach does not have to know doesn't know everything that a grown man is doing. You're expected to only be around a player 20 hours a week, but know what they do in their life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if a player goes out and does something that's not above board, then the coach is, you lost control of your franchise, of your school, and you're held accountable for what your players have done. And I feel like that's kind of what happened there. He has some impropriety situations at a restaurant, but the thing about it is, the man can coach. He's 71. I thought he was 70. So 71, I was almost on point there. Everywhere Rick Pitino has gone, he's succeeded. As a matter of fact, even when he failed in Boston, Rick Pitino, the coach, did well. Rick Pitino, the general manager, was horrible. And that's what cost him in the long run in the Celtics. But everywhere he has gone, he has succeeded. So it would be a great story that Rick Pitino finally gets to come back home and coach Kentucky. It's a short-term arrangement, maybe 3 years, and let him retire as Kentucky coach. He would definitely turn the franchise around, bring Kentucky back to the level where they deserve to be, and then let him ride off in the sunset and then bring in another coach. But it would be a great story, a huge story, that Rick Pitino gets to come back to Kentucky to finish his story. So I love that one. Dan Hurley wasn't on the list, was he?
He's mentioned a little bit, but they said that they don't necessarily think that he would leave.
No, he's not leaving.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. You can't have a better situation. You have a coach who wants to stay. You have a school that wants him to stay, and a school that wants to pay him.
Right.
That's called check, check, check. That's
Yeah.
the reason why he's not on that list. Kentucky's gonna call him. They're gonna call. They're gonna throw a number out there. I think UConn's gonna do everything they can to get as close to that number as possible.
I would be surprised if Dan Hurley left UConn.
Yes. Okay. So let me hear some of the other ones here.
So there was also Scott Drew, the Baylor's head coach. Drew and UKAD Barnhart have been friendly since the 2021 NCAA tournament bubble, when Barnhart was the selection committee chairman and Baylor won the title. Many people familiar with Barnhart's thinking have said Drew would be his top choice whenever the job opened. The Baylor coach orchestrated arguably the greatest build in college basketball history. Baylor was going on probation when he got the job. Drew had the Bears in the NCAA tournament in his 5th season. He has won 2 Big 12 titles and has been to 5 consecutive tournaments. He is one of the sport's top recruiters. Baylor had a lottery pick the last 2 years and has another projected lottery pick this year. Baylor has just gone through this with Drew, who was also the top choice at Louisville. Baylor and Drew agreed recently to terms on a new contract, according to a source briefed on the matter. So
I instantly, if I was going to say, I couldn't think of his name at the time, but on my list, 4 and 5, I was going to say Baylor's coach and Alabama's coach.
Alabama's also on this list.
Sorry. Alabama's coach used to be at Kentucky under Rick Pitino, and that's the reason why I thought about him. And they've done well. Baylor, he took Baylor from dead to a major program. Kentucky's not a rebuilding program. Kentucky is strong. And so bringing him in would be a great fit. You just said, I didn't know this, that he just got a brand new contract?
Yes.
So I would have said that would have been the top, most likely the person that's going to get hired. But since he just got a new contract, that makes him that's probably a huge buyout to get him out of this. So
well, it would be the same with Alabama's head coach too. It would be about an $18 million buyout.
Oh, okay.
So
it's $18 million for both of those guys each. That would be, $18 million buyout for Kentucky. I don't see it as a problem. I don't see it as a problem. I think Kentucky would do it. Yeah, I think he'd probably be one of my top choices as well. And then what is Alabama's coach's name? Forgive me, I don't know.
Nate Oates.
Yes. This is who I'm going to say that, and if I'm between those two, are who I think is going to get the job. They're not going to bring back Rick Pitino, as much as I would love for that to happen. Billy Donovan's most likely going to stay with the Bulls, and Dan Hurley's going to stay with Connecticut. But those two jobs right there, I could definitely see one of those two getting the job. Both of them, great coaches. Both of them can recruit their butts off, understands name, image, and likeness, have either a former relationship or a current relationship with Kentucky and the athletic director. Those are all great fits. So I don't know if you throw somebody else out, I'm going to be in trouble from this point on. If there's anybody else, I don't know if I can tell you anyone else. So who else are you on? Who else? Give me names of other people I'm going to listen to.
We have Sean Miller, who is Xavier's head coach.
Don't know
Bruce
enough about
Pearl,
him.
who is Auburn's head coach.
Oh, Bruce Pearl. I can't see Bruce Pearl. No, I can't see Bruce Pearl
No.
getting that job. No, okay. I didn't realize Bruce Pearl. I didn't even think about Bruce Pearl. No.
We also have Mark Pope, the BYU head coach.
Ooh, BYU's actually been doing really well too. That's a good one.
Yeah, Kelvin Sampson, Houston's head coach.
Interesting.
Shaka Smart, Marquette's head coach.
Ooh, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's a really good one. Shaka Smart's that's an interesting, would fit in well. Oh, I'd move him. He'd definitely be in my list here. You just threw some names. I didn't even think about him at all. That's a good one. That makes it interesting when you start listing some of these guys and you don't even think about, like, Shaka Smart. Didn't cross my mind as even a possibility. I'd have been here 20 minutes writing down names. I would have never thought of him. And now I'm like, ooh, I love that one. So.
And that's all the list has.
Yeah, there's some candidates. See, a lot of these guys, other schools, they would not be possibilities. But Kentucky's job, there's Kansas, there's Kentucky, there's North Carolina, maybe Duke. Those are jobs that everyone coveted. And so coaches that could be incredibly happy at their current situation are willing to say, you know what, I'm super happy here, but Kentucky's the supermodel that I always wanted. And, so it's going to be interesting. I think a decision with Kentucky, that'll be done shortly. That won't be out there for very long.
No, I'm sure by the end of next week, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Week's.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Shaka Smart. You threw one at me I was not expecting. I like that one. I like that one a lot. So
Thank you.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into our Dumb Criminals segment, so make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were discussing the Kentucky basketball coaching candidates list, and now we're gonna dive into our Wednesday special of Dumb Criminals. This one's funny, and this one also makes me hungry as well. So,
Okay, this is interesting. Let me see what happens here.
alrighty, so an Alabama man robs 4 Subways because the Jarrett diet failed. Police are calling it a case of revenge. A man's failed journey to weight loss could be the blame for a string of Subway restaurant robberies in Alabama. Police say the suspect apparently got his hopes up after seeing commercials of other success stories. Zachary Torrance, who is 18, was arrested Friday after he allegedly robbed 4 Subway restaurants over 4 days. He stated to the detective that he had attempted the Jarrett diet and it didn't work for him. Police Chief Chuck Hagler said he felt like he should get his money back. Subway spokesman Jared Fogle lost 245 pounds in 1 year after eating a steady diet of Subway sandwiches. Police say when the focus on the footlongs didn't pay off for Torrance, he targeted sandwich artists across the Birmingham area. My first reaction to that is that it's a crazy thing to say, but There has to be something because all he did was rob Subways, Hagler said. Torrance, who weighs over 200 pounds, is now behind bars on a $250,000 bond at Jefferson County Jail. The alleged jilted dieter may have missed the part of the Subway commercial that states Jared believes in an active lifestyle, including lots of walking, or something about results may vary. Torrance had nabbed after surveillance videos was posted on the Hueytown Police Department's Facebook page. In the video, Torrance can be seen walking into a Subway restaurant, pulling out a gun and demanding that employees open the cash register. The footage was viewed by 150,000 people in 24 hours. Lee Martin spotted Torrance shopping for a gun holster at Walmart and alerted police. All of a sudden, he turned the curb and was looking for a gun holster, Marston said. He recognized Torrance because of his orange shoes, which he also wore while robbing a Subway restaurant. Torrance could be facing additional charges in the 3 other suspected robberies.
First off, he has the orange shoes because it's going to go with the orange jumpsuit that he's about to get fitted for.
Yeah,
that's the first
matching
thing. You know. So he was already just getting a jump on things. Mm-hmm. It's kind of funny because, it's kind of funny. Him and Jared could actually be roommates in prison because Jared's in prison too. If I'm
Is he really?
Positive. Yes, he's in prison.
Oh, let me do some research on
that. Jared, just say Jared Subway prison, and look it up. The diet worked for him, but other things,
he's incarcerated.
Yes, he is for a long time. He did some not so great things.
Yikes!
Do you see it?
I will dive into that.
We don't need to talk about what
what
brother Jared did other than Subway. Now, here's a funny thing that was really popular back in the. Yep.
Oh my God.
I knew you finally figured out what Jared did and why he's incarcerated
no idea.
now.
Gosh.
So
moving on.
Yeah, that's the reason why I said we're just gonna move on. We're not gonna talk about brother Jared and why he's at summer camp extended. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's a weird thing. Not that I'm slim good body right now, but I used to be quite wholesome, let's just say. And I have actually tried that whole Subway diet thing back in the day. And it does work. For the record, it works. But you can't be on the couch like Jabba the Hutt with like 45 like double meat, double cheese, double sauce subs sitting around you as you're wolfing them down. That sub, it was like, I think it was like you had like the veggie sub. It was just a bun and veggies. Mm-hmm. He had like 2 of those a day, and then one that was just like plain turkey, and none of the seasoning and all that stuff. None of the extra sauce and stuff. You can't be like, I'm gonna have me the BLT, the meatball. I'm gonna double up on the meat, the cheese, extra sauce, lettuce, cheese, and pickles and onions.
I really want a Subway sandwich right now.
I'm gonna tell you something about Subway though. They got the best cookies in the business.
Oh my God, Subway cookies are so good.
Am I right?
So good. Their cheesecake cookie, their raspberry cheesecake cookie, and their white macadamia nut cookie is.
I was just gonna say it. That white chocolate macadamia nut. That one. And see, you can't be like watching Subway. Watching Jared losing weight and be like, you know what? I'm gonna go to Subway. I'm gonna do that diet. I want 4 meatball subs and 38 of the macadamia nut cookies. You
know what's crazy? I've had the same Subway order since I think I was about 8 years old.
Okay, let me hear what it is.
Okay, so I do the Italian urban cheese bread, because that's the best one. I
like that one. You were doing good.
I do Black Forest ham. I do white American cheese. Then I do lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, do some mayo, and that's it.
Okay.
And I get it toasted.
And toasted. Mm-hmm. My favorite Subway sub was the meatball marinara. That was my favorite. But that sucker's not good for you at all. If you're trying to get a 6-pack, that will help you get a 1-pack. Okay, that sucker's not good for you.
That'll help you get maybe like a 3-pack of rolls.
Yes, you got a roll in your gut, your neck, and your back at that point. But yeah, that was the meatball marinara was one of them that I liked. But if I was trying to be another one that's not as healthy as that Italian BMT, that one. But I'd always do lettuce, tomatoes, and then the banana peppers, black olives, and oil and vinegar. Ooh, look at it. What part of that don't you like?
Banana peppers and olives.
Yeah, those I'd always put those on. I love me black olives. I love them. And then for the meatball marinara, I will only put the banana peppers on there, nothing else. I just want the meatballs, banana peppers, and the cheese, and toast it. I don't need any veggies on that one. I'm not even pretending that sucker's healthy at all. You know it's not healthy. Don't be lying to yourself and be like, you know what? I got the most unhealthiest sandwich they have, and I'm gonna just sprinkle some lettuce on it to make it healthy. No, you're not. That's not making it healthy. You're you know. Now back to my man Jared's new roommate.
Zachary.
Okay. Just because you didn't have willpower and you didn't exercise, don't mean you got to hold up these restaurants. There's people working there. Might not just write a stern letter to corporate.
Right. Maybe they'll send you a gift card or something so you can get free Subway sandwiches.
Or maybe he did write that stern letter. They sent him some coupons in which he got more subs and got even fatter. And that's why he got upset. It was something like that.
Oh, gosh.
But you have to be, sometimes people are twisted. Like, even if you were upset with a restaurant, normal people would just be like, you know what? I don't go to Subway. Mm-hmm. They advertise this diet. I tried the diet. I gained 45 pounds and I'm never going back there again. Not this guy. This guy is like, I want every penny back. I want to keep those subs.
Every dollar you own, Subway.
I want it back. And if you're going to hold up a Subway, after you get the cash, throw in me 2 macadamia nut cookies in there too.
Let me just tell you something. For any of you guys who have been to a Subway, do you really think that, one, Subway is going to have enough money in their cash register to compensate you for the amount of pounds that you gain from eating Subway sandwiches? And 2, do you think those Subway workers are gonna give a crap about being held up at a Subway? Subway workers don't care.
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, the Subways where I live, the Subway workers, I feel, are equivalent to the Walmart workers.
Wait a minute. You cannot be saying that a Subway worker, Walmart, because
there's like
the holy grail of hardcore workers, Walmart, but Waffle House is king.
Hard workers? Those aren't hard work.
No. I'm saying hardcore. I did not say hard workers. I said hardcore.
No, I'm not saying they're hardcore. They just don't care.
Okay,
Subway
they're
workers
just
just don't care.
Okay, I'm like a Waffle House cook will punch you in the eye and flip your burger at the same time. So that's a whole different level of a worker. You're not saying that kind of level.
No.
You're just saying they
don't care.
Actually, that's probably why he was like, I'm going back there. He was buying the subs, and he's like, look, they're not even closing the register. They're not even trying. He's like, I'm going there. I'm gonna try to see what I can get. And maybe that's like, you know what? They're not gonna put up a fight. I think that's what it was. He's just the path of least resistance.
Maybe.
But when you go through and you're upset and you start robbing Subways, there are consequences and repercussions for your actions. You're going to wear those orange shoes. How you going to wear the same outfit? No, how many people wear orange shoes in the first place?
Yeah.
You're going to be the orange shoe bandit. How you going to turn yourself into the orange shoe bandit?
Orange
show
shoe
up.
sub bandit.
Yes. You just ask. There's only so many subs in the area, and you can just set a police car out back and just wait with a camera on everybody's shoes. Oh, there's Jimmy with the shoes, with the orange shoes. Let's call in SWAT and take him out. I don't think he thought things through properly.
No, I don't think he did either. Hence
why he is on this program of dumb criminals. Because if you're, I hope I never get to the point where I have to rob a Subway or rob anything. Okay, I hope, keep fingers crossed, everything. But don't you think you should aim higher than a Subway?
It was revenge. He was upset that he didn't lose any weight.
Like, how many customers do you think a Subway get an hour?
An hour?
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Oh, no, it's more. I was going to say like 10 customers, maybe.
No. Not
Jesus.
10 customers an hour. That's a busy day for Subway if they're getting 10 customers an hour. Max 5 customers an hour in a Subway.
You don't see. Why is it? Like, I like Subway. I'm going to defend Subway.
I love Subway.
Subway is, I don't know anyone that talks smack about a Subway. People eat Subway, but no one ever talks like, oh girl, I gotta get me some Subway, or dude, let's go swing by Subway. No one thinks of Subway, do they?
Let me ask you. The last time you went to a Subway, how many people were inside that Subway?
I'm gonna keep it real with you. And
Were you the only person in there ordering food? Because every time I go to a Subway, I am the only person in that restaurant ordering a sub.
Faith, I think the last time I was in a Subway was before the pandemic.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And no, I don't.
5-6 years ago. That's crazy.
Maybe like 2018. Maybe it was the last time. Yeah, 2020 was. I'm gonna say 2018. 2018 is the last time I've been to Subway, and I liked the Subway. But no, and even when I come back to the U.S., I remember last October when I was in the U.S., I'm like, I gotta swing by McDonald's, get me a Big Mac. I gotta try that. I want to try some of this. I want to try some of that. Subway don't get on your list like, oh, I gotta get me that Italian BMT I've been missing. No. I don't know. Do we? I don't even know if we have Subway in Portugal.
I don't believe Subway is international.
Oh, when it comes to fast food, they're all here. Let's see. Burger King, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken. You don't expect Kentucky Fried Chicken to be here, but there's Kentucky Fried Chicken. But they're not.
Hey, there's some in Brazil. There's some Subways.
That's a whole nother continent. That's thousands of miles away. That's Portuguese language.
I'm just saying.
Look up if there's Subway in Portugal. Let's see if there's Subway in Portugal.
This says, as of 2019, Subway has more than 20,000 locations in the United States, Canada, outside of North America, they have locations in Australia, Brazil, and the United Kingdom. So you could just, fly over to London real quick and go get you Subway sandwich.
Next time I'm in London, as I've talked about this before. The cool thing about living in Europe, get there,
Rub it in.
$30 ticket, round trip ticket. You can fly to London, fly into London, hang out, fly back, anywhere from $20 to $50 round trip, depending on the time of year. That's all it costs to get around Europe. So it is super easy. I'm gonna fly in there, get me a Jared special. Hook a brother up with a Jared special.
I don't know if you want to call it that.
See, I didn't change this whole story has changed your whole opinion of Jared now. You didn't realize that he was on lockup
for bad things.
Really bad. No. Really bad things.
Yes, for bad things.
Jared, there's more likely that there won't be a Subway before Jared gets out of prison. He's in there forever. So
more than likely, yeah. All right, guys. Well, don't rob a Subway, and definitely don't do it in bright orange shoes, because you will get caught. But thank you guys so much for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave us a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace. I'm gonna go get me Subway.
Macadamia nuts.
All right, bye, guys.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.